My name is C. Patrick Gendusa. I'm at Loyola University, New Orleans in the Department of Theater Arts and Dance. I'm extraordinary faculty. I teach acting 1 and 2, directing 1 and 2, musical theater 1 and 2, senior roundtable, senior project, which is the senior thesis course. I teach intro to public speaking, argumentation and debate, audition techniques, and I teach an online course every summer called The 70s as Seen on TV. I'm born and raised in New Orleans on the West Bank, and I moved to Texas after high school to become a Holy Cross brother, actually, to join the seminary. That didn't work out, and I decided to become an actor. And I was at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas, which is where I received my undergraduate degree in theater. And after that, I was working professionally in Austin, Texas, because they have a phenomenal theater scene. I was working there for a few years. I had a day job, and I finally realized if I have to have a day job to support my theater, it has to be in theater also. So that's when I decided to go to graduate school. I went to Texas Tech University and got an MFA in acting and directing. And I went there because I was able to get both in one. Most degrees were either acting or directing. Texas Tech, which had a great program, had an MFA in acting and directing. I've been performing and directing since I was young, and I've performed all over the country, Texas, New Mexico, New York, Virginia, all over New Orleans and Louisiana. I still do. I haven't done as much in the last few years because work here and directing shows at Loyola has taken a lot of my time, and I've been focusing on that because I love it so much. The last show I did was about 2 years ago in the city. Right after college, when I graduated from St. Edward's University, I was hired to co-direct a production of Hair at St. Edward's. And that was when I realized I was working with these students, and I realized this is it. I mean, I'm making a connection with them, and I'm really good at directing and connecting with them because I treat them like people. And again, I got bitten by this bug, and that was when my eyes just opened and I realized this is where I need to be. I want to work with students and direct them, and it's also a feeling like no other. Watching them. My one frustration with opening night of every performance is that audience comes there and all they see is that performance. They have no idea where these students came from. 5 to 6 weeks prior, where they were and how far they came. So they get judged just based on what they see that night, which sometimes may not be as great as it could be. But if you would have seen how far they came, where they were several weeks ago, and it's a wonderful feeling to watch them grow. That's an age-old question. Can you teach acting, or do you have to? Is it just a natural-born gift? I think there's truth to that. You have to have it, and there are students that and there are people you've seen on stage that they just have it. I think our job is to nurture those gifts and to encourage, and also not to discourage. I mean, if a student is trying, they might not have the natural-born talent. But I always tell my students, you're never graded on talent in any of my classes. You're graded on effort. Because if you're trying hard, but you really just don't have it, but you're working so hard, you deserve to get an A. As opposed to someone who has wonderful talent but hasn't been doing the work and just shows up. That's not putting the effort into it. That's a huge part of Acting 1 is I teach them the process. Because I tell them, again, a lot of them are coming from schools where it's just, let's put on a show. And I said, there's a process. There's a reason why we rehearse at least 6 weeks prior to opening night, every night for a minimum of 3 to 4 hours a night. Okay, you don't just learn your lines and show up opening night and walk on stage. I said, there's a process to this. And it's understanding that character, the character analysis, the script analysis, tearing apart, trying to figure out what each line means, what each word means, what's going on inside your character's head, why are they saying everything they're saying, and how do they feel about everything they're saying, and how do they feel about everyone else in the play. Because I tell them, I said, everything that comes out of your mouth, you say it a certain way for a certain reason, and you know why you say it. And it's the same thing, it's your responsibility as an actor when you're bringing that character to life. You need to know why they're saying everything they're saying and how they feel about it. I said, if there's someone that you don't like and they pass you and they say hello, you're going to say, hey. Or if you like them, you're going to say, hey. Same word, you say it completely 2 different ways, and it means completely different things by how you deliver it. And in the script, it may just say, hey. And you need to figure out, well, how do I feel about this person? How am I going to say that word, hey? When you learn that it's not about you. Okay? My biggest problem with theater in general is a lot of times it becomes masturbatory, which is a word that may not be appropriate for this, but it suits the situation so many times. It's not just you on stage. Even if you're doing a solo cabaret act, it's not just you on stage. There's a band, an accompanist, there's an audience. Okay, it's not all about you. It's about us. Okay, theater does not happen with just me. It happens with an us, whether it be myself and the audience, or myself and another actor. And when it becomes all about you, and all you are worried about is yourself on stage, that's not theater. It's not happening. Not to get too dramatic or too personal, but I never believed in myself. I literally used to go to bed at night crying, looking at Broadway posters that I had on my wall, because I never thought that I could be there. And I would follow, like, Andrea McArdle was the first Annie, and Annie was one of the first musicals I saw as a child, and I fell in love with her. And I remember I would have her picture up, and I would just, and I would feel such sadness because I was like, I could never be that. I never thought that I could be in theater. I had the most incredible stage fright. It was stifling. In 6th grade in grammar school, Mrs. Shields was our English teacher, and we did Macbeth. And as a class, we performed it. We did the play. We didn't just study it. We performed Macbeth, which was unreal at that grade level. And each class, there were 2 classes, each class did a performance of it. And there were 60 kids total. I was the only child that would not be in the play. I had such stage fright. My mother even came to the school and talked to the teacher and the principal, and she's like, I can't force him to do it. I mean, I was petrified. And it didn't happen until Holy Cross High School, and it was at Holy Cross High School when I was in the choir, and Mr. Richard Crosby, he's a wonderful musician in town. He used to make all the arrangements when Sinatra and Pete Fountain used to go on The Tonight Show. That incredible man. And I was in the chorus, and he believed in me, and he made me do a solo once. And he pushed me to do it, and that was it. From then on, there was no stopping me.
Broke through it.
He did. His belief in me, and I remember, that first solo, my legs were shaking and my pants were going, but I did it, and that was it. And nerves were always a problem, but throughout my career, they've gotten so much better. And now I just try to turn that energy into, just focusing on the show. And I always say nerves just show that you care about what you're doing. But it's not as stifling as it used to be. The one that first sticks out was my very first theater audition, though. And I was scared to death. I had just gotten kicked out of the seminary, and I decided I was going to do this. And I was petrified. And the director had us do a scene, and she asked us to do it as animals. And she asked me to do it as a chipmunk. And I remember, as silly as it sounds, I just went for it. And I was doing this chipmunk thing in the scene, and all I remember is all the other people who were auditioning were in the theater, in the house, just screaming and laughing. And in my mind, it was like one of those slow motion moments. And I remember people like going, ha, 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 yes. And it was like, that was like the moment where I was like, this is it. And that's the one moment I don't think anything could ever top that moment. It was just that I was that complete connection with the audience and myself, and that interaction. It was just incredible. And getting a reaction, getting laughs. There's nothing like getting a laugh. It's huge in the relationship to the actors, especially at this level, because these are young performers. And my role here is pretty much Papa Bear, okay? Because you need to constantly reassure them and help them and let them know that they're going to be okay, and do everything you can to make them comfortable. Because if they're not comfortable, they're not going to be able to do what they need on stage. Okay, now directing is a huge part of it, but there's so much a part in directing at any level is just dealing with personalities. Because you have to, I can give you a note, John, that delivery was just not right, and you can handle it. You may be opposite another actor, who I could say, that's not right, no, that's not right, and they would crumble. And you have to go, okay, let's work on that. Tell me about that line, what do you think? So a lot of it is just, there's a psychology to directing. Okay, it's a lot about dealing with personalities, and that's what I teach in my directing class, is that a lot of times there's very little directing in directing. It's just knowing how to talk to people and how to talk to different personalities and deal with them. They have to do a monologue and/or a song. So if they're interested in musical theater, they should do a monologue and a song. If they're just straight acting, they have no interest or can't sing in musical theater, they can just do a monologue. And then after that, and it's a cattle call. It's kind of like American Idol, except instead of the 3 judges, it's all the university department representatives from all over the country. And we're all at tables in a huge room, and the students come in, they bring in about 50 at a time that stay on the side, and one at a time they come up on stage, they slate themselves, which means introduce themselves and their pieces, and then they go right into the monologue and the song. They finish, they say thank you, and they go on next. And our auditions are open to any Loyola student. They don't have to be a theater major. And I love casting non-majors. I've cast non-majors in practically every show I've done here, because they just add so much. There's an innocence about them that's wonderful. But for the musical, the students had to sing and audition. We have Ken Weber, who works in campus ministry or university ministry. He's our music director, and he's doing an incredible job because he's an amazing, I didn't know this about him, he's an amazing teacher. So he's not just musically directing the students, he's also teaching them and teaching them how to sing correctly. And so they're learning so much through this experience. It's really wonderful. And Callie Russell is a senior, and she's our choreographer. It's part of her senior project. And she's doing a beautiful job with the choreography. When I'm auditioning students for the university, it's very different than auditioning a student for a show, because I'm looking for a specific role to fill and certain characteristics. When I'm auditioning students for the university, talent to me is about that much. I'm looking at, is that a student that has a passion for the craft, a passion for learning, and is it someone that I want to see in class every day for 4 years? Do I want to spend 4 years with this student? And I want to see their light, I want to see their inner spark. Are they a good person? That is so much more important to me than anything else. Because I have called back, it's called callback students. In the auditions, when we see them and we're interested in them, we call them back. And I have called back many students who did not do a great audition. It was very mediocre, or just wasn't what we really want. But there was something about them, there was a spark, a light, just a beauty about them. I said, that's the kind of student I want to see in class every day for 4 years. And there were students who did wonderful auditions, but I just got a bad vibe or something just said no, and I did not call them back. So it's a very different thing when I'm auditioning students for the university as opposed to auditioning students for a show. The Audition Techniques is a course that I teach, and it is very important. We do find, too, a lot of students, when they come here, do not know how to audition properly. They haven't had to in schools. They may be coming from schools that didn't necessarily have a theater program. They just had drama club, which means they just put on shows. So it's kind of the old Mickey and Judy routine of let's just put on a show. So there's no training going on. But there's a lot of wonderful training that's going on in high school theaters too. I mean, I'm a strong believer in high school theater. I taught in high school theater and created theater programs in high schools. So it's very important. But auditioning is, because that's your one shot. Okay? And I tell them that you're auditioning from the moment you're in view. It's not just the actual audition. If you're doing something foolish on the side, that's going to stick in our mind. Okay, so the audition process is very, very crucial because it can make or break you. It's your only chance. Yes, we're looking to expand, and we're very excited about expanding this to a BA in musical theater, which I think is going to just open up so many doors to students and to our department, because I do all the recruiting in the department. I travel all over throughout the year. I probably audition a couple of thousand students a year. And every student that comes up to me asks, do you have musical theater? And it's always been a disappointment when we go, no, sorry. It's been wonderful in the last few years, though, because I added a musical theater class, and I've taught musical theater too, and we started doing musicals. I won a Big Easy Award for the best university production a few years ago for our first musical of Godspell. It wasn't the first musical in the history of the department, but it was our first musical in a very long time. And directing World Goes Round, I've seen the difference in the last year telling students, we teach musical theater, we're doing musicals, and there's a possibility of adding a musical theater major. The difference is night and day. So we're very excited about that. And there's a lot of current students who have such an interest and a passion for musical theater that they're very excited about it also. There's theater around us every day. In politics is a play. It's drama, it's theater. Mass is theater. Catholic Mass it's a production. Okay? There's drama and theater around us all the time. Okay, and that's why I said, theater imitates life. Sometimes life imitates theater, but it's such a part of our life. We act. Everyone performs every day. Using theater to make a change, to make a difference, is wonderful, and it can be very powerful because you can relate to people in ways that you can't. You can get a message across in a non-threatening way or non-political way or not in-your-face way with a picket sign. And, you can make people see things in a different way too. I mean, if there's a message you're trying to get across, when we did the Laramie Project here a few years ago, there are people protesting, there are people trying to get this message across for, equality and things like that. But here we're able to show a true story of the effects of hate. And through that, you can change people's minds, change people's hearts, okay, by presenting it in a different way and not talking at them, okay, but exposing them to a scenario, exposing them to a situation and trying to touch their heart or touch them in a different way. They do. John Bigonnet, who's an amazing man, one of the most gracious and wonderful men here, he teaches a screenwriting class and a playwriting class, I believe. I'm not sure about the actual titles. And our students take those classes, and I think it's every other year in the fall, they write a 10-minute one-act. And John and I collaborate, and at the end of the semester, my students, who are not the playwrights, we do stage readings, and they act out the scenes for the playwrights, which is a wonderful opportunity for the playwrights to hear their words come to life. And it's a great opportunity for our acting students to experience a stage reading and to get some experience, okay? Because a lot of times throughout the course, the students really haven't heard their words come to life or hear an audience's reaction. So it's wonderful for them to, I didn't realize that line was funny, everybody's laughing. Or I really thought that line was a scream, why isn't anybody reacting? Okay? So it's a great process that John and I do. Oh, well, it shouldn't change. Because, every night I tell, especially like after opening night, there's such an amazing energy opening night. There's such a charge in the audience and in the cast. And there's a thing called second night letdown, where it's that second night where the audience might not be as big or might not have the energy, and you're also kind of coming down off the high of the opening night. And I always tell them, I said, that audience there tonight deserves the same show that you gave the audience last night. Okay? And sometimes it's hard as an actor when when you can hear the crickets and there's no one, or they're not laughing at everything, or they're very tentative. And it's hard but you just have to pull through, and you have to just kind of stay in the world of the play and not, which is hard because you're in that world of the play. The audience is not there. Okay? So it's hard sometimes because you jump out of your body going, why aren't they laughing at me? I thought I delivered that line greatly. Why didn't they, I didn't hear a sniffle. Why I don't hear any tissues. Okay? So it can be frustrating because no matter how committed you are, there is an element where you're kind of split in half. There's you going, this is what I'm doing, and then there's you being the character. So it can be a challenge, but you just have to persevere and just drive on through. And what I always try to do is it becomes a challenge where I'm going to get this audience back to where the audience the night before was. I'm going to bring them in. Okay, it may take a little extra work, but by the end of the show, they're going to be laughing and screaming and applauding just as loud as the night before. Comedy is actually harder. Okay, and that's kind of a rule. Most people think drama is harder because it's drama and it's serious and so dramatic. Okay, but comedy is actually harder. Because the trick with comedy is that you can't play the comedy. Okay, you're laughing. Most of the stuff that you watch, if you watch sitcoms, things like that, films, most of the things you laugh at are not funny to the person in the play, in the film, on television. Okay? You know, if I walk up to you and I throw a cream pie in your face, the audience is going to laugh. That's not funny to you. Okay, you're upset. All right? But it's playing it real, not playing the comedy. This is a real situation to you. Okay? It may be funny to the audience, but it's not funny to you. It's hard because I've had colleagues of mine, fellow students, in college who would do the shows with me, but had to major in psychology or business because their parents wouldn't support them if they majored in theater. And it's hard. One good thing, with the economy today, it's kind of leveled the playing field because no field that you go into is a guaranteed moneymaker. Okay, it used to be like theater was kind of, or the arts. Oh, but if you go into the arts, you're never going to make any money. Well, you're not guaranteed to make money in anything these days. So, you know, in some ways, the economy has kind of leveled the playing field. But the thing what I tell parents too is, it's in them. And if you don't encourage that, they're never going to be whole, and they're never going to be happy. Okay, they may have a job, but don't you want them to have a career and have something that they're proud of, and this is what they were put on this earth to do, and they have a passion for and a love for? Okay, we weren't put on this earth to just have a job. You were put in here for a reason, and you know, if you're going to force them into something, then you're not doing your child justice. Okay, and you owe that to them, to let them be who they're meant to be. When I tell students when I'm recruiting all over, because I'm helping them find the school they want. I want them to come to Loyola, but they're also talking to every school around. And the one thing I tell every student, it sounds like a big old hunk of Velveeta, but you will know the campus as soon as you set foot on it. The place that is right for you, you will know. You will get out your car, your feet will hit the ground, and you will go, oh, yeah, this is it. Or you'll go, this doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. I said it's so important to find the school that's right for you, not necessarily the program. Okay? Because if you may be in a great program, but if the school if you're not happy there, you're not going to succeed. And Loyola is such a wonderful place. I've had a lot of students from other schools that have transferred here, and every single one of them said the moment they set foot on campus, they said everyone was so happy, and it was such a happy place that they knew this was the right place to be. And it is. I mean, it's very much a family. We help our students so much inside and outside of the classroom. It's a wonderful place to get experience no matter what your major is. But as far as theater, you're able to get so much experience on stage and off stage and learn all the tools, all the aspects of theater that will help you become a marketable actor or stage manager or director or teacher, whatever it is you want to focus on.